So this article came out on Reuters. I pulled this up on Yahoo just because of the imagery to show you a correlation that not a lot of people are seeing. This story about Ebola is starting to dovetail itself with two other things that we've talked about: the situation in Venezuela and the issue of states' rights. Now, it's a complicated thing to see, and I'm going to try to walk through the details of this to show you what the media is going to do with this story to manipulate your opinion of it. They're going to very subtly move the goalposts without you seeing it, because they've been able to do this for a very long time. Now, the first place we need to go is here. For those of you who were unaware of what was going on, there were negotiations going on in Norway between a random guy named Juan and the duly elected government of Venezuela. Now they've ended, and there was a phone call between a random guy named Juan and our illustrious vice president. I thought it probably went something like this. And I'll just let you go ahead and read the captions here, because this is pretty much the end of how this will always turn out, because DC still doesn't understand why they failed. They don't get it. They don't have any conception of what's really going on in Venezuela. If it had been the situation that a lot of my detractors describe, the ones who are quote-unquote anti-socialist, the type of socialism that comes from the top down, the type of socialism that would see itself installed in Washington, D.C., and then administered by those like Ocasio-Cortez or Bernie Sanders. Yes, absolutely. If that were the type of socialism that existed in Venezuela, it would have already failed. Absolutely. But it hasn't. And this is the problem. D.C. has instituted some very crippling sanctions. And then the results of those sanctions they have tried to run out as the result of socialism indirectly. But they haven't gotten their regime change yet. And you have to probably sit and scratch your head as to why this is the case. Now, what does that have to do with Ebola killing a bunch of children? Well, it has to do with these two other images. This is what they're going to do in the upcoming. People have said, why aren't we closing the borders? Why aren't we trying to do something to stop this? We have the best healthcare in the world. They want the issue for the upcoming elections. And they're both going to play it out as if the solution lies in D.C. You see, on the left, I have an image of 6 people from the right. And it says, oh my God, Ebola is coming. Brought here by those illegal invaders. Build the wall. Close the border. Do you want your kids to die? A vote for anyone other than our current leader is a vote for dead children. Then, of course, on the right, we have 6 representative people from the left. What are they going to say? Oh my God, Ebola is coming. We need free universal health care. Do you want your kids to die because you can't afford premiums? A vote for the current leader is a vote for killing children. Either way, they are going to make themselves out to be the solution one way or the other. And then you're going to go run to those who are easily manipulated, I should say, are going to go run to the polls and say, well, this just wasn't the time for any type of hiccup in D.C. We couldn't have some type of a third party because of this crisis, that crisis, or the other crisis. This is what happens when you are slaved to top-down management. And it's one of the reasons that things are so sideways in Africa all the time. Because believe it or not, Africa is not socialist. Africa is hyper-capitalist. The countries on that continent are super duper duper, totally free market to the point of ridiculousness. They let anything go. There's almost no sense of real ordered governance, like good common sense governance like we have here, because of the fear of that. Now, that's what's going to happen with that story, eventually. what's happening now in Venezuela is very, very serious in the sense that they thought this was going to be over, and it's not. So they are going after the food. Believe it or not, they are going after the food. The sanctions are starting to be targeted toward this thing called CLAP. And let me see if I can bring that up here. Oh, wait, I think I already had it up. Here it is. The Bolivarian National Militia joins CLAP food distribution. See, what they're doing is they're DC. When I say they, I mean DC. They are starting to add taxes and tariffs onto ships that are heading toward Venezuela that are loaded with food now. They're trying to mitigate the effect of bottom-up socialism, or what I've referred to as states' rights, quote-unquote, evil, terrible, horrible socialism. This is why DC has failed, because they don't realize they're fighting against millions and millions and millions of people that would rather feed themselves and maybe do without or go without than give up their sovereignty. Oh, praise God, one day if we would have that here, where people would say, you know what, yeah, DC is going to take our money away, but we're going to stick together as the people of Missouri, the people of Washington, the people of Michigan, the people of Florida, and we're going to fix it ourselves, absent of them. My prayer one day for this country is that's the attitude of every person in the 50 states. That they take a lesson from Venezuela this way. They are organizing their militia not with guns, but with strong backs. Carrying boxes of food to people that can't provide for themselves. And this is what they're doing to mitigate the sanctions. And they're doing it for free. That's what a lot of people don't get about their militia. They have a standing militia larger than our standing military. Let me say that again. There are more people in Venezuela that are members of the Bolivarian militia than there are total members of the United States military in a country 1/10 the size of ours. And you want to know what they do? They operate for free as volunteers. They don't pick up paychecks. They don't get free uniforms. They don't get free health care. They don't get free housing. They don't get the militia, speaking of. They do it for free after they do their job that they have to do to maintain their life. It's a pretty amazing thing to see, a 3 million man militia that operates for free. This is why DC is failing. It's why they're continuing to fail. And when you start to see stories where the media is going to try to tug at your heartstrings because of how it's going to affect the children, but the children, they're going to set themselves up as the solution. Whether it be the left-wing bird or the right wing of the bird, either way, this is how they're going to screw with your head to get you to stay in the same paradigm, the same fear paradigm. I'm going to bring those pictures up one more time, just so everyone can see them. This is what they are going to do. It's coming. You mark my words. When the first stories of this, and it doesn't matter whether it's even this, or whether it's typhus, or whether it's tuberculosis, I have heard is going on in LA now, dengue fever, any of the problems that are going on in our country. Both sides are going to come out and tie it to kids, or tie it to the innocent, or tie it to this, that, or the other. And then they're going to set themselves up as a solution. And those of you who have posted about problem, reaction, solution, you're dead on. Absolutely right. Problem, reaction, solution every 4 years. But one way or the other, one of the two sides will end up winning if people allow themselves to be manipulated. And then the other side will pout for about a year. and point fingers. Nothing will get done. And then about 2 years after that, they'll start to ramp up for the next elections. Lather, rinse, repeat. This is what happens when you continue to vote R, you continue to vote D, you continue to vote R, D, R, D, R, D, over and over and over and over again. Yes, voting for somebody other than the R and D is going to initially cause all sorts of headache, heartache, problem, and grief. That's what we need. We need a reset. We need to figure out a way to start over, and it's going to cause problems. But we can't be afraid of that. And we're seeing a great example of what happens when DC doesn't get its way. It can be achieved. It has been achieved by a country that is smaller than a couple of U.S. states. Years of sanctions, going without food, going without clean water, going without the basic necessities of life, and they still stand together. And DC will continue to fail. And they still won't get it. Like, share, subscribe.